comply with the KFS circular, right? There's nothing new here. It's just a restatement of what was already true, that last year's KFS circular applies to digital lenders. And actually, this took effect last year when the circular was issued. And there are 7 operational requirements under the KFS circular. And I've listed them out here. We won't go through them all one by one because that is enough content for a whole webinar. We've instant linked our KFS webinar here. If you want to go through it, we'll of course send the deck across with the recording. However, out of these requirements, we have noticed that digital lenders in particular still have some trouble complying with a few of them. So let's go through some of these now, right? The first requirement is showing the KFS at the stage of offer itself, right? Because before the KFS circular, the KFS was shown in many cases, not in all cases, many cases at the end during the stage of disbursal along with the final loan kit, almost like a disbursal formality. After the KFS circular, the KFS has to now be displayed at the stage of offer itself, right? Before execution of the loan contract. It's no longer a formality, like just another document to add in the loan kit, but it's actually a critical element of the offer itself. But in digital lending, the focus has mostly been on giving out a loan in as quick a time as possible, with seamlessness of the flow at the main product priority. As a result, a lot of digital lenders that we've seen still continue with the pre-KFS circular position, where they share it as a disbursal formality. Or in some flows, they show the KFS as a small link during the offer, which customers can easily miss. But the ultimate point of KFS and the KFS circular and the DLD's restatement of the KFS circular is to give borrowers a chance to reject the loan at the offer stage itself, right? So you need to build your process such that the KFS is upfront and center and visible and unavoidable, right? It should be in the customer's face at the stage of offer itself. Second requirement is that KFS, and this we often find doesn't happen with digital lenders. It happens with some, doesn't happen with some, is that the KFS needs to be in a language the borrower understands, right? Lenders often use a vernacular declaration where the borrower checks a box that, hey, like I understand English and the rest of the flow is in English. Or sometimes the digital lender operates on the basis that, look, my app is in English, they've downloaded the app, they've onboarded on the app, so clearly they understand English. Unfortunately, this won't fly since the KFS circular is very specific, right? The KFS itself must be written in a language that the borrower understands, which they may not understand ultimately, even if they downloaded an app, right? Like they may understand how to download an app, they may not understand the English contents of the KFS because of the complexity of it, right? So what you need is a workflow where the borrower picks the language of choice at the outset, like in an ATM. The language then triggers a specific KFS workflow in that language where both the KFS and the KFS interface are in that language. So the DLA here, the digital lending app, must provide this screen selection interface. But in the backend, the language of the KFS and the opening of each language link into that KFS workflow must be facilitated by the RE and any vendors that the RE uses, right? So yeah, if you could see, the first step is probably on the DLA or the LSP providing the service. The second 2 steps are on the RE to provide. Third requirement in the KFS workflow is borrower acknowledgement, right? RBI specifically wants lenders to collect borrower acknowledgement on the KFS to show they've understood the terms before entering or executing the loan contract. What a lot of lenders do is they simply offer a click wrap on the KFS and get it e-signed at the end with the loan agreement. Or they give a KFS as a link which the borrower can click and download with nothing more than that, right? What you actually need to do is build out a workflow where the borrower actually views the KFS and then acknowledges the KFS in a way that's auditable, right? So that the RBI knows later that you are actually collecting clear consent from the borrower. And only after that should the loan agreement process be initiated. So that's the third point. And a final point in KFS compliance, a question we receive from digital lenders is about the KFS validity period mentioned in the KFS circular and whether it overrides the cooling off period in the DLD. Ultimately, these pertain to different time periods. Validity period for KFS is pre-execution of the loan contract, whereas cooling off is an option they can exercise after executing the loan contract.